When you've been in enough California homes, you start to recognize some common things in many houses. Tiny cracks in the stucco around the windows, double pane windows with signs of moisture, mildew in the bathroom, water stains under the sink. Every agent sees those things. Every buyer sees those things. Even the dog sees those things. But for some reason, when it's time to fill out the AVID, those same things magically disappear. Suddenly, the drywall cracks become normal settling. The uneven floor isn't even mentioned. And that water stain that clearly has a story, apparently no one saw it. And that's where agents get hurt. Not because the home was perfect or imperfect, but because the AVID they turned in reads like they walked through the property wearing sunglasses at night. Welcome back to Disclosures and Consequences. I'm your host, Jason Piske, realtor, disclosure nerd, and someone who has seen more AVIDs than any human being should probably admit out loud. If you're new here, this podcast is all about the moments in real estate where the paperwork becomes the plot twist, and today's star of the show is the AVID, the Agent Visual Inspection Disclosure, the form every agent fills out, every broker glances at, and every attorney scrutinizes. Before we get into the real-world examples, I want to explain what the AVID is in real human language, so the realtor can explain it to the buyer to set expectations, and so the agent also knows what is expected of them. Here's the plain English version of what that first page of the AVID is trying to tell you. California law requires every real estate agent, whether you're representing the buyer or the seller, to do a reasonably competent, diligent visual inspection of the property. Visual is the big word here. You're not doing a home inspection. You're not diagnosing anything. You're simply walking through the parts of the home that a normal person can easily access, and you're looking for material things that affect value or desirability. This applies to almost everything sold in residential real estate: single-family homes, condos, townhomes, manufactured homes, even lease options and ground leases. If it's 1 to 4 units, this duty exists, but the law also draws a bright line around what agents don't do. They don't climb onto roofs or into attics, crawl under the house, move furniture, lift rugs, or open locked doors. They don't pull permits, inspect HOA common areas, operate appliances or systems, and they're definitely not testing for mold, asbestos, radon, or anything that requires tools or expertise. The AVID is essentially saying, if a normal person wouldn't go there or can't see it or shouldn't touch it, neither should the agent. And here's another important part. Even when the agent does see something, a stain, a crack, a slope, a smell, they are not supposed to explain it. They don't determine the cause, the severity, or the cost. They simply describe what's visible and let professionals figure out the rest. The AVID also reminds buyers that our inspection is not a replacement for a seller's disclosures, and it's definitely not a replacement for a home inspection. Buyers still have a responsibility to investigate and hire the right experts. The agent's job is to look carefully and write down what they saw. The buyer's is to investigate what those things mean. When agents blur that line, even with good intentions, that's where the consequences begin. But here's the thing. Most agents were never truly trained on how to fill this out. They learned it from a rushed office meeting, a TC who needed the form before they could close escrow, or by copying whatever their mentor wrote. And because of that, people feel pressured to be vague. But vague AVIDs are exactly what get agents and brokers in trouble. They don't protect you, they expose you. And when something goes wrong after closing, they're being reviewed by attorneys. Let me walk you through a few real California cases from the last decade where the AVID didn't protect the agent because the agent didn't use it the way the law intended. In a lawsuit involving the sale of a 60-year-old home, The listing agent completed the AVID form noting visible cracks in the interior sheetrock and exterior stucco, but described them as normal and not significant associated with the home's age, without recommending further buyer investigation. After closing, the buyer discovered the cracks were due to expansive soil and shallow footings, leading to recurring damage and high remediation costs, confirmed by a geotechnical engineer. The agent was found at fault for editorializing and understating the issues rather than factually describing them as red flags, failing to disclose their lack of expertise, and not advising professional evaluation. This shifted liability to the agent for hindering the buyer's due diligence. The outcome involved the buyer filing a successful claim against the agent, resulting in liability for damages related to remediation. In another instance, a California real estate agent was sued 5 times over 20 years in connection with failures to disclose material property issues to buyers, often tied to AVID observations or known defects not properly highlighted. 4 cases settled with payments to the plaintiff. If you take anything away from this, I want you to know that the AVID is not busy work. It's also not a place for creative writing or a positive spin. It's your opportunity to say you looked, you noticed, you documented, and you stayed in your lane. A detailed AVID never scares a buyer as much as a lawsuit should scare an agent. And a vague AVID never protects you as much as a clear one protects everyone. And that's where we'll wrap up today's conversation. The AVID isn't complicated because it's important. It's one of the few places where the law asks you to slow down, pay attention, and simply tell the truth about what you see. When you treat it like a real part of the job, it protects you and it protects the people you're guiding through these homes. I'm Jason Piske, and you've been listening to Disclosures and Consequences. Join me next time as we keep unpacking the paperwork that quietly shapes every transaction. If you want more breakdowns like this, you'll find related resources linked in the show notes. And remember, it's not the paperwork, it's the consequences. See you next time.